Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Mike and Maria, the Masons, and we are on the move. We were on our way to Seychelles for our biggest trip of the year, and we had a 9 hour layover in Istanbul. So instead of doing the smart thing and sleeping in the airport, we did a tour. So this is us about 30 seconds into realizing we walked straight into a TSA shutdown on the way to our biggest trip of the year. And this is us about 90 seconds later when someone finally checked out our boarding passes and saw that we had pre-check and sent us to the front. We almost cried. If there was ever a sign that this trip was going to be magic, it was that moment right there. After a stop in the lounge, we boarded the plane, and we don't always fly business class, but when we do, it's really great. We had lie flat seats, personal little pods, slippers. It was really nice. We enjoyed the ride to Istanbul. Fast forward, we land, and the first thing you notice is how massive the airport is. We're walking and walking, but the wild part was for being one of the biggest airports in the world, it was barely crowded. We could actually breathe when we were walking. No one was shoulder to shoulder. It was just clean, modern, and very peaceful. And then we hit the sign that said welcome home. And honestly, it kind of felt like we were home. So this is what we did. We had a 9 hour layover. And so we booked a private tour, about a 45-minute drive from the airport into the city. First stop, we went to the Spice Bazaar. And the second we stopped out of the van, the view really hit us. We landed close to night, so the sun was starting to go down. There was a beautiful mosque right there in the city, sitting in the skyline. It was a really nice view. And quick fun fact for you, Istanbul has somewhere around 3,600 mosques. So no matter where you turn, you're almost always looking at one. The whole city is really shaped by them. We headed towards the Spice Bazaar, and the energy on the streets was really nice. It was vendors everywhere, people out shopping, eating, hustling. The tour guide was leading us away, pointing out stuff to us all around, and we were really kind of just trying to take it in. You know, Mike, he was eyeing every food court that we went past, and everything smelled really nice. It was kind of like a sensory overload, to be honest. And so we headed over to the Shozy Spice Bazaar, and they had every color of the rainbow of spices lined up everywhere. And it was interesting because as soon as we walked in, the owner was like, taste this, smell this, try this. We didn't even really get to ask questions. They're just throwing everything at us and letting us try everything. It was a lot of fruit and nut rolls, kind of like candy, but made out of real fruit and nuts pressed together. We did end up buying some. They had nice teas, summer tea, energy tea, herbal tea. Everything looked really, really nice. Dried flowers and fruits and herbs all mixed together. They had saffron, medical and cooking grade. And saffron is the most expensive spice in the world because it takes about 75,000 flowers. 75,000 to make 1 pound of saffron. And every single thread is hand picked. So suddenly that little jar seems to make a lot more sense why it's so expensive. There was an entire perfume corner and all of these different pretty decanters, crystal gold, all different shapes and sizes. And every scent that I tried, it was really nice. And so, of course, we had the different rolls, pistachio, fig, apricot, you named it. We sliced up a few and certainly bought those. And honestly, the whole store kind of felt like a museum where you could just eat everything, spices, teas, perfumes lined up everywhere. We could have stayed there for hours. And so, if you're ever in Istanbul, this is the spot, Shozy, that you want to visit to get all of your spices, nuts, and things like that. Back on the streets, it was really getting dark. A light rain just started, and our tour guide gave Mike an umbrella. We were walking past the giant mosque, and it's lit up against the night sky. And the guy kind of told us that it was built between 1609 and 1616, 400 years later, and it was still gorgeous. And so it got pretty dark. The city was still crazy. It was still alive. The stores were open, vendors were out, everybody was moving along. It really got chilly faster than we expected. So we ducked into a little shop so that Mike could grab some pants and he bought a jacket. We probably should have packed a little bit better for the layover, but we just assumed it would be warmer. So what surprised us, honestly, was how many little bistros were tucked into the streets. lots of tiny tables, candles, people laughing. It really gave us major Paris vibes. Istanbul has this whole cafe culture thing going on that we honestly didn't expect. And now that it's on the list, we want to definitely come back and try more places. One of the things that was super cool about Istanbul is that they had a lot of stray cats on the street. And all of the cats were like well fed and super fat. They were everywhere. And so when we asked our guide about it, he said that, oh yeah, like the people of Istanbul love cats. Everybody feeds them. And then he pointed out the little wooden houses that they had along the street, for the city, that they actually build little mini cat houses so that the strays have somewhere warm to sleep. And so it was really sweet to see. They had little teeny red cat houses over there. So then we were at the Blue Mosque lit up behind us. This is one of the most iconic buildings in the world. We got to stand in front of it. And as we were walking through the streets, we were really just trying to take it all in. Saw this beautiful illuminated waterfall right in the middle of the city, which was really nice. Honestly, it seemed like every block we were on, there was something that we didn't expect to see. And then our tour guide tells us as we're heading to an open park area where they actually had real ancient artifacts sitting out in the open. It didn't have any like museum or glass case. It was just like this big, giant open area. Apparently, a lot of like festivals and events are held in this same square when they do New Year's Eve countdown, for example. They do the same thing here. And so we saw the Obelisk of Theodosius. It was originally carved in Egypt for the pharaoh Themos III around 1500 BC. So it's literally like 3,500 years old. The Romans hauled it all the way from Egypt to Constantinople in 390 AD. And now it's just standing here in the middle of the park, which is kind of crazy. Right next to it, it was this walled obelisk, which used to be covered in gilded bronze plates, but from top to bottom. But during the Fourth Crusade in 1204, the Crusaders ripped all of the gold off and melted it down for coins. So now it's just the stone left. But that was pretty cool. Okay, quick detour. We had to find a restroom, and in Istanbul, public restrooms are a whole vibe. You pay to use them, and a lot of them have squat toilets, like this in-ground squat down and handle it situations. This is what we walked into, and I'm laughing. Mike was laughing, but we figured it out. Back outside, we walked past this beautiful structure with gold Arabic writing across the top. And then we went to this underground cisterns. The cisterns don't even hold water anymore, but stepping down into the place, it was a hall of columns lit up. It felt very ancient, almost like we walked into a movie set. It was quiet and echoey on the inside. And because we went at night, the tour guide mentioned that it was nowhere near as crowded as it normally is during the day. These columns have been standing there for literally like 1,500 years. We walked through with our guide. He was pointing stuff out, and it just felt kind of surreal, honestly, as we looked at the carvings and the ceilings and how high it was. We were super happy, but it also felt kind of magical for sure. Then we saw this Medusa statue that was put on display by a local art school, and the shadow with the wall behind it kind of gave you a little bit of goosebumps. It was super interesting to see it, something that we didn't expect. And so there were quite a few different sculptures like this around inside the cisterns. Back above ground, we saw some more mosque and beautiful buildings. We had to try the Turkish ice cream because it's not just ice cream. Apparently, it's a whole show. He's going to give me the ice cream, take it back, give it back, take it back. It took about a full minute before I got the cone. The ice cream itself was stretchy, almost like taffy, but it was really good. Definitely nothing like what we have at home. And so we continued walking through the city, just taking pictures and taking everything in. We really felt like we were getting a lot to see in a very short amount of time. Then we headed over to what is called Taksim Square, which is kind of like Istanbul's come Times Square. There were tall buildings, neon lights everywhere, tons of food stands, and people from all around the world. This is what he said, one of the most famous streets in Istanbul, and it was so busy. We were walking down the street and looking at all of the people, and honestly, like Istanbul was nothing like what we expected. It's definitely something that we would love to come back if we have more time and really get a chance to tour more things and experience more foods. And speaking of food, we were hungry, so we did want to stop and grab something to eat from one of the local vendors. Mike got two mini burgers and I got a chicken wrap, and everybody around us was speaking Turkish. The energy was electric. It was really cool. Of course, Mike's going to ruin a perfectly good picture of us every single time. And apparently, this place is really good. Food, it's iconic. It was almost 11 o'clock at night, guys, and the streets were still so busy. Lights was on, music was playing, it was people everywhere. And we were really just kind of walking through and trying to catch the vibe with it. It was just so busy and the night was getting kind of late. We were tired and we also had to make sure that we got back to the airport. So we started winding it down, took this really nice picture, saw this store, Hafiz Mustafa, which is a famous Turkish dessert spot, had to try some baklava. And then we headed back to the airport. This is us arriving back through priority entrance, which was really cool because it only had two-person security. The airport was still not crowded, and so we were able to walk right in. It took us literally less than 2 minutes to be able to get from the entrance of the airport through security. I've honestly never seen anything like it. It was just really efficient. And then we were back inside. Honestly, this airport was so beautiful. It was gorgeous. There was marble everywhere, lights, designer stores. We were looking for the business lounge, and so we had to kind of walk past a lot of these designer Gucci and Dior and all these different types of stores. It's kind of like a big giant luxury mall with a runway attached. It felt kind of surreal because who really, I don't know, maybe some people go to the mall with the intention of dropping an extra $500 or $600. But like for us, that definitely was not on our agenda. Again, we were just trying to find the lounge so that we could relax. And this is the face of two people who had been on the move for like 16 hours straight. So we were so tired. Good news is the Turkish lounge had showers, and so we were able to kind of refresh ourselves. They had robes, slippers, the works. It was really nice to have a nice hot shower and be able to kind of refresh before the second leg of the flight. Once we finished the showers, we had a cup of Turkish coffee, which was super strong, like walk up and slap you in your face strong. And this was the view from the lounge, looking down at all the bright stores. Again, like I said, it was so decked out in the airport. It was really, really nice. Next thing you know, we're on the plane, round two. Next stop is Seychelles. They gave us this cute little hygiene case that had toothbrush, toothpaste, eye mask, socks, lip balm, everything we needed to get some rest during the flight. And so, two more meals, a glass of wine, and honestly, we were ready to take off and take on the next part of our trip. Make sure you don't sleep on your layovers. Go see the place when you can. Please hit subscribe and follow us so that you can catch up with our Seychelles trip. And we'll catch you on the next one. We're the Masons and we're on the move.